You ever watch a movie that's based on a true story, or my favorite line that the cinema is now going with these days, based on true events, and think to yourself, wow, I can't believe that really happened. Let me look into that on the Google machine and figure out what parts are based in reality, what part of this is a true story, only to find that none of it is a true story, that none of it really happened, and all you have is vague inspiration. Take the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. When you look into the true story or true events that this movie is based on, you find out that Leatherface is very loosely based on Ed Gein. Now, while Ed Gein was in fact a creepy weirdo in his own right, and I can appreciate you basing a character on him, it turns out that Ed Gein didn't live in Texas, he didn't use a chainsaw, and he was not a part of a cabal of a hillbilly family of cannibals. And I wanted my hillbilly cannibals to be real. I wanted that event to be real. And that got me thinking back then when I was looking this up on the internet.com, how false could a story actually be? And this, of course, brings us to our greatest new hoax of the year, the story of Breonna Taylor. Now, in my previous video, I already went over some of the major initial myths of Breonna Taylor, and I refuted, disputed, and outright destroyed all of them in an elegant and beautiful way. Honestly, you should definitely watch that video if you want to see something magical occur on your screen that you can enjoy for the rest of your life till the end of time, as long as the internet is alive before the sun burns out and kills us all. But just in case you can't be bothered to watch an old video, I mean, it's a few weeks old, who has the time for that? I'm going to give you the long and short, quick rundown in a nutshell of the myth that I previously obliterated on this channel. And I'm going to do it incredibly fast. It's going to be like, and then I'm gonna snap to it. Now, the myth was that Breonna Taylor was an innocent person who didn't do anything, and you should say her name, by the way, Breonna Taylor, Breonna Taylor, Breonna Taylor, when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the police executed a no-knock warrant, breaking down her home, which was in fact the wrong door, and then they shot her in her bed as she slept because they are racist or something or something. Now, over time, this story got changed because this story was completely false. It turned out that Breonna Taylor's house was in fact the correct house on the warrant. It turns out that the police, even though they had a no-knock warrant, decided in the staging area that they were going to knock and announce this. And this is verified not just by an independent witness who heard them both knock and announce, but by Kenneth Walker, who was inside the home. And the police, contrary to your depiction that you might have heard in the media, did not just racistly execute Breonna Taylor in her bed. They shot back in the direction of Kenneth Walker, Breonna Taylor's current boyfriend, and Breonna Taylor after Kenneth Walker fired upon the officer, hitting him in his femoral artery, a wound that would have proved fatal had the officer not gotten appropriate medical treatment. Now, it's important to note that even if the original myth of Breonna Taylor, wrong house, they just came in, Kenneth Walker thought that they were intruders, he shot them, the police shot back killing Breonna Taylor were in fact true, that would have been a wrongful death and in no way, shape, or form a murder. If you have the wrong address on a warrant and you break down a door, that's not on the officers. They're acting within what they think is the scope of the law, and they have a right to defend themselves when shot at by somebody in the home. However, this house was the correct house. It had Breonna Taylor's name, address, birth date, social security number on it, and a photo of her front door on the search warrant. Anyone who still says that this was the wrong house is either lying or completely ignorant. It was in fact the correct house. There was also more than sufficient cause for this warrant to be issued. Breonna Taylor was seeing two men frequently over the past couple of years. Jamarcus Glover, who was the drug dealer at the center of this investigation, and Kenneth Walker, her other boyfriend, who was previously believed to not be involved in any criminal activity. And we will be getting to that very soon because the new updates kind of changed that information. Jamarcus Glover, the drug dealer at the centerpiece of this investigation, was receiving his mail at Breonna Taylor's house. Breonna Taylor was seen with Glover going to and from trap houses that were at the center of this investigation. And this weird idea that Breonna Taylor maybe didn't know that Glover was a drug dealer is completely dispelled by multiple factors. One, at one point in 2016, Breonna Taylor actually rented a car from Enterprise and loaned it to Jamarcus Glover, and that car ultimately ended up with a dead body inside of it. Now, call me crazy, but if 4 years after you lent a car to somebody and a dead body ended up in it, you still don't realize that this person's a criminal, then you have more problems than you can possibly imagine. On top of that, Jamarcus Glover would repeatedly call Breonna Taylor from jail in order to have him bailed out of jail for his many multiple arrests that he got over the course of years. On top of that, Jamarcus Glover is recorded on a jailhouse phone call telling somebody to go get money in order to bail him out from yet another crime. Where was this money that he was stashing, this unemployed man, except for the fact that he was a drug dealer? At Breonna Taylor's house. Listen to it for yourself if you don't believe it.
So where your money at?
You gonna stay there?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay.
You see where my money is?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through I'm gonna go through the cure right now. I'm not trying to hide nothing from you or nothing, for like, I'm gonna go through the most about my money. Like, that shit was, shit, what you mean? Like, Bree had like $8 grand. And I still got money.
Bree had $8 grand of your money?
Yeah.
Did she tell you where it was?
This is why regressive defenders of Breonna Taylor, who aren't as comfortable lying as the majority of the regressives that back Breonna Taylor, have retreated to Breonna Taylor ended things maybe, according to Facebook, with Jamarcus Glover, like 8 days before the raid, and the police should have somehow been checking her Facebook posts in order to figure it out. But anyway, that's all the old news. The police did knock, the police did announce, there are multiple witnesses to it, all of the evidence that you need is in my previous video. Let's move on to the new stuff. And initially, I have to say, I thought this new stuff was nothing because people were headlining with the wrong information when it came to this, and what I'm specifically talking about was, in fact, this photo of Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, the boyfriend that was previously believed to be a non-criminal. Now, when I saw this, I thought this story was going to be incredibly stupid, like a random smear job based on photographs that were in Kenneth Walker's phone, because on its own, this photo doesn't prove anything. Those guns could very well be legal in Louisville, Kentucky. In fact, I can almost guarantee that you can legally purchase both of those guns in that state and specifically in that city. And also, the caption "partners in crime" doesn't necessarily mean anything. It could just mean that they're a couple. It doesn't have to actually mean that they're legitimately partners in crime. It could be a cute caption. Photos on their own don't prove anything. There are a dozen photos of me wearing a doctor's coat holding what looks like to be a legitimate, authentic med school degree. None of that helped me when it was actually time for me to perform surgery. There was just blood everywhere, and I just didn't know what to do because I'd never been to med school. I never even was pre-med, and it was just hectic, and I'm sorry to your family. Now, while the photo on its own doesn't really prove anything, the information inside Kenneth Walker's phone is actually quite illuminating, so I definitely recommend you click on articles that discuss this, because one of the things that was revealed by this document dump by the Louisville police is that Kenneth Walker was also a drug dealer. There are text messages in his phone of him talking about selling pills to Hooters waitresses for $6 per pill. There's also other messages about him talking about the prices of marijuana that he was dealing. On top of that, there are more messages of Kenneth Walker planning other crimes, like a robbery of a Target that supposedly has $25,000 in cash on him. So while it is technically true for people to say that Kenneth Walker did not in fact have a criminal record at the time of the raid that killed Breonna Taylor, it is not true to say that he's not a criminal. His phone proves, in fact, that he was a criminal. He just never was arrested for the crimes that he actually committed. So now that we know that Kenneth Walker is also a drug dealer and also somebody who is planning armed robberies and talking about it as if it wasn't his first armed robbery that he planned and executed, we can say that either Breonna Taylor is completely ignorant of everything that goes around her, or she has a type, because she was dating two men over the course of many years, more than 5 years, that both happened to be drug dealers and both happened to be criminals. And the argument that she didn't know it, even though one of the drug dealers clearly was putting money in her apartment from time to time, is absolutely ridiculous. The Breonna Taylor case keeps getting more and more false, like a movie based on true events, the more and more you look into it. Now, originally I was going to leave the video here, but credit to Devin Tracy, aka Atheism is Unstoppable, who's now over at censored.tv. By the way, if you want to support Devin, then you have to use the promo code AIU, lowercase or capital, it doesn't matter, it gets you 20% off, and it is absolutely the only way for your Censored TV subscription to go towards Devin in any way, shape, or form. because he pointed out that Vice actually did cover some of this information, but they omitted a very crucial detail about Kenneth Walker during the arrest from the body cam footage, and the way that they did it is they cut the audio of the body cam footage and started doing voiceover at the most crucial moment. And we're going to look at that because I think this is absolutely amazing.
Who else in the apartment? Nobody. My girlfriend's dead. Inside? There's somebody.
This previously
Now, the critical part of that video where Vice cut the sound and started doing voiceover should absolutely be the headline across all the newspapers. And that is, Kenneth Walker, when asked who fired the shot at the police officer, decided in his most honorable and dignified moment to blame Breonna Taylor, his dead girlfriend.
Hallway.
What kind of gun did she shoot?
It's a regular 9mm.
Did she shoot or you shoot it?
It was her. You scared.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker, the supposedly non-drug dealer boyfriend, the supposed non-criminal who was in fact a criminal, who was in fact dealing drugs according to the information contained in his phone, when asked who fired at the police officer in his most honorable and dignified moment, decided to throw his dead girlfriend under the bus. This is the guy currently being elevated by the media as the other victim in the Breonna Taylor story.
You scared.
Now that's all I really have for you guys today on these new updates. Let me know your thoughts about them, of course, in the comments down below. If you like the video, show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on my social medias. That's where you find me tweeting and parloring and tweeting. Support me via the support links in the description box. Till next time.